You got to have a concept. You have a great concept. You guys are doing it, man, and it's an honor for me to just be, a small rock, man, in your mountain. I'm gonna pop a top in your honor. Mr. Doc Walker blessed us with his presence, and now
we want to welcome in our next special guest, Haley Skarupa. She's a three-time world champion in women's ice hockey and most recently won Olympic gold with Team USA.
The Cap Stadium series is definitely my favorite, obviously. I'm a huge Caps fan, I always have been, and to be there at that game with my teammates and for us to bring, our gold medals to there and share it with everyone in this area was really, really special for me, and just the support and has been tremendous from everyone in this area, and you can feel that there at that game.
Welcome to Sports on the Hill podcast. Hashtag DC Sports Without the Politics with Carol and Robbie on True Radio Network.
All right, I think that worked. The first time we've had an intro on the video side of the podcast. Welcome to episode number 346 of Sports on the Hill podcast. Super excited to have you guys along for the ride. We are live streaming as our season 9 fall premiere across 4 platforms. So we're live on Kick, YouTube Live, and I was just testing being able to chat between platforms. So my friends here were live on Twitch, and I was chatting with them on YouTube, and I could see each other's chats, which I thought was pretty cool. And we're also live on our Facebook page as well, on the SportsOTHP page. So you can definitely check us out across all the different podcasts, and we will now be able to grab the audio, including an intro, which is why you now see the intro live with a countdown meter. So, well, thank you everyone for tuning in live and being a part of the show across whatever platform you're on. I very much appreciate it, and I'm excited to be back with DC's People's Champ. Champ, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Just sitting here playing some MLB The Show because Madden is broken.
Oh, got it.
Yeah, so Madden, what happened was Madden put out an update, and I'm getting pissed off again because Casey just keeps hitting everything around off of me. So what happened was Madden last week put out an update, and so they put out the update, but the update ruined the one mode that everybody wants to play, which is Superstar the League. And so now when you go in and play Superstar the League, you play your regular season game, and the game crashes. It just randomly crashes and sends you all the way back to the home screen. And no matter what you do, whether you uninstall the game, reinstall it, whether you clear out your caches, whether you do whatever you need to do, anytime you go in there, you could be like in the first quarter, you could be in the second quarter, you could throw a big play pass for a touchdown. Next thing you know, it freezes and then crashes. So the game has been literally unplayable except for like franchise mode and the Madden Ultimate Team mode. All of those are fine, but the main mode that everybody wants to play because of the integration between Madden 25 and College Football 25 is currently unplayable. And so there are like hundreds and hundreds of people that are in EA Sports' ear, like pissed off and wanting refunds because a lot of us pay for this game. Like, this isn't something we're playing for free. A lot of us pay for this fucking game, and and the main mode we want to play is not playable. So other than that, just another week. Glad to be back for Sports on the Hill. I believe this is my 5th year return. This is the start of like my 5th year joining this podcast.
Wow.
So
That's awesome.
Yeah, craziness. It's crazy that I've been a part of this podcast for that long, and it originally started just me talking about the Wizards, and then they turned into a trash bag basketball team, and then expanded to me talking about my passion of wrestling, the Commanders, and then even delving into WNBA and MLS. Holy crap.
Yeah, I know. You're a man of multi-trades. You're kind of the Swiss Army blade of the Sports on the Hill podcast universe. So I appreciate you and the rest of the team. We'll actually have Dujanet on in a couple of minutes. We're also going to have Tim on a little bit later as well. A little bit of a smaller, more intimate group, but I kind of like that to talk about the first week of football. There were a lot of games, a lot of action that we can break down, and it'll be fun to talk about with all of you guys. And Nice. I appreciate Eric for finding us on Facebook, and I appreciate Restreambot for also sharing the comments across all the platforms so that we can not miss any of the comments. We also have a scorebot live. We're also watching this Jets San Francisco game. San Francisco just scored a touchdown, and they just took a 12-7 lead over the Jets. The 2-yard rushing touchdown right there for the 49ers. So somewhere Anna Knox, a big hockey contributor, will be very excited to catch this. Yeah, so I guess I want to get your initial thoughts on week 1 of the NFL while I share the podcast to a couple of different groups real fast. And then we'll get into some Commanders talk and bring Duchesne in about 3 minutes.
Absolutely. So the Commanders Bucks game didn't go quite the way I expected. The Bucks came out and had some really explosive plays on offense. Mike Evans was out there really playing well. Baker Mayfield 289 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, 2 of them to Evans. And Evans just looked absolutely so good going up against Benjamin St-Juste. I mean, St-Juste had some good coverages on him. It's just that Evans is such an elite receiver, being 6'5" and over 260 pounds, that he was able to still overcome that coverage to be able to make those catches, or Baker Mayfield making those throws. But I think the eyes were on Jayden Daniels, who was the number 2 overall pick in this year's draft. He was okay in the air, 17-24 for 184 yards. He did it with his legs mostly, 16 carries for 86 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns. While your 2 primary running backs, Eckler and Robinson, they combined had 14 carries for 50 yards, with Brian Robinson scoring a touchdown. But they did have 7 catches combined for 101 yards. So they did contribute quite a bit in the passing game, but they were somewhat nondescript when it came to the running game, with Jayden Daniels out rushing them both combined. Scary Terry, who's RB1, he's the number 1 receiver, so you expected a big year from him. 2 catches, 17 yards. That's not how you get your number 1 receiver involved when it comes to the passing game. So the passing game was kind of not really there. And then what even made it even worse was that Cade York, who even DJ said in our group chat earlier on, that he showed on film that he's not a very reliable kicker, and he showed it missing 2 field goals, which led to him being released on Monday. So he got 1 game and he's done. He's out of here. And so hopefully the next kicker that comes in here can do a little bit better. But I feel like, it's a work in progress. The first regular season game where the number 1s actually played a full 60 minutes. They actually had to, use a lot more of the playbook, had an actual game plan that they had to utilize. And so there's some things they have to work on. There's some things they have to tweak. There should have been some secondary adjustments when the wide receivers were out there just going to town, getting catches and stuff like that. Even with the good coverages, there should have been some kind of adjustments to kind of limit that, and there wasn't. And so I think this is just a learning experience for the coaching staff as well as the players, and hopefully when it comes to the next game, they make those adjustments and they have a little bit of a better and more competitive game the next go around.
Yeah, for sure. Well, let's bring Duchesne in. He's been doing a great 2 show a week thing I want to talk to him about, which I think is really great, where he's going to break down all the different NFL teams and their action on the Monday show, and then on a Tuesday show, a bit of a variety show, different topics each week with some different guests. So that's some really exciting news. I'm excited that he's been joining us and been a part of this podcast network for, I also think, about 4 or 5 years now. It's been quite some time, and it's always fun to get Duchene's point of view on all the different sports actions. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great, man. How are you guys?
Chilling, brother.
Yeah, you crushed it with your show earlier. I actually have a command for you in Twitch chat, and it should send the links to all the different chats. Maybe not on Facebook, but people know how to find you on Facebook. Always not bland 21 anywhere on any different service. But yeah, you had some interesting insight on a lot of different games. We won't have time to talk about all of them today, but I definitely encourage people to go check out that one. I also just added your YouTube link because all of the live streams are now streamed on YouTube. It's a great way as an archive to catch all of his old shows. But DJ, we'll start off with the Commanders. It's obviously a disappointing game. I struggled to watch it at times. I had to turn it off a couple of times just because my wife is injured. I had to take care of the kids. They were not doing particularly well. It was getting to be too much. And I was like, it was just a lot of the same old, it seems. I know it's a new regime. I know I need to give them time. I know that Tampa Bay is good and they made some great plays. But overall, what were some of your thoughts on this game?
My biggest focus is on the defensive side of the ball. You know, they want to arrive violently, right? That's what we talked about. Sound tackling, all of that. None of that seemed to transpire. They had some pass rush at times, did not get home like they should. That's a problem. And I think it's just guys trying to do too much instead of just doing their job. Baker has the ability and a good ability to step up in the pocket and make plays, but I mean, come on. I mean, they made the guy look like he was Michael Vick or something. Back end, of course, we already knew this, and this was a concern coming in. It was talked about in camp by a lot of my colleagues. Just the secondary is young, learning, probably not. I wouldn't say it's the most talented spot on the roster, but it is one of concern. And if you go back and look at a lot of things that happened defensively when they did get pressure, if they get the sacks, you likely don't have the deep plays. But also, I also don't like how we're still having miscommunications on the backside. Is it the guys not going far enough to hand off a guy to the safety after it's out of his zone? There's a variation of a lot of things, but guys are out of position and shouldn't be. Tackling was horrific. And by veterans. But you know what, man? A going theme across the league is the teams whose starters did not play much. It kind of looked like it. So, defensively, a lot to improve there. I don't think this is a matter of a coaching staff. This is a matter of guys doing jobs, and it is what you got to call it like you see it. And the fact of the matter is, most of these guys that ended up being kept on this roster are losers. Okay, do a lot of talking like pit bulls, and then when it's time to show up, they show up like show poodles. Stuff can't work. No. Do your job. Get a little bit of heart. Harvest your nuts and do your job. But we didn't see any arriving violently, on defense.
It seemed very timid. We were just letting them have their way with us. I know that in our group chat with CP3, he seemed to think that it was going to turn around, and I didn't believe it from the beginning. The second they showed up, I was like, oh no, here we go again. From the first quarter, I kind of didn't feel like it was going to be our day. And I know that a couple of us picked us, even we did our pick'em. If people want to see our pick'ems for the whole year, I like to be on the record for what it is. And I thought we would start off badly and then we'd have a resurgence against the Giants. It was kind of how I always saw it, but it was kind of worse than I expected, which I know maybe I shouldn't have expected so much, but I don't know. What are some of your thoughts?
I don't know if it was worse, because I think the problems that were seen during the preseason showed their head here in week one. The lack of guys not playing. I mean, you don't expect guys like Bobby Wagner to miss tackles, but I mean, look, you're trying to shake off rust. You just don't come in and turn it on. I thought the offense was a bright spot in some instances. I don't know why Diami Brown was not part of the starting lineup. I love Zacchaeus is a nice possession receiver. He is not your two. Okay. That's just not going to work. I like Luke McCaffrey as well. Seemed to be very vanilla on offense, though. And I'll say this: it's something I said on my show. I was in Atlanta for the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, and as I looked at a lot of the other games, whether it was fresh, newly signed or newly drafted quarterbacks, or quarterbacks that have been, moved, it just appeared that there was a lot of vanilla play calling across the league with new quarterbacks or teams that are newly formed. And I'm not really sure why that is, but I also have also come to realize that with the shortening of preseason, that at times you're going to have one, maybe even two games before a team really gets right. And a lot of teams kind of played sloppy ball, even though they may have won significantly in some cases. A lot of teams played a lot of sloppy ball, and I just think that's just a lack of the preseason games, and this is just a product of it.
Yeah, do you think that's okay, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I was going to say, DJ, I want to go back to your point about the secondary and how they kind of miss assignments and stuff like that. The McMillan touchdown, his first career receiving touchdown. I could have made that throw how wide open he was.
Absolutely. And again, it's the same stuff with, I believe that was against Forbes on a double or stutter. And look, the doubles, the stutters, the little hitch and goes gets him every time. And we've seen it on tape for a long time now. And I don't know what you can do to fix that. You are what you are. And, you can only turn over a roster by so much. And I tweeted this out earlier, and I think fans just kind of forget that the fans have this elevated look about this team at times. And this roster was bad. I mean, look at how many Ron Rivera guys got cut. And you can't turn over the entire roster in one sitting. So it's going to take another year. You also expect, with the sprinkling in of some quality players who have done well and who are in the prime of their career, that it would help out a little bit. But they didn't play in the preseason, so that doesn't help you week one when they're trying to get their legs in an environment that was, it's been hot here. We've been fortunate of cloud cover here in South Georgia, but it's been rough here in the South with heat, and they were experiencing that. That's something that they hadn't dealt with either, along with not playing a full game. So there's a lot of things going on there. But I think your secondary problems, and I said this before when Dan Quinn was with Dallas, and I've always said this, even with other coordinators with Dallas, one thing about it is if your front four is getting home and doing their job, doesn't matter what type of secondary you have. I can have guys that are average in the back. I just need them to be where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. And if the front gets there in enough time, 3 to 4 seconds, it's a wrap. And you're not putting that much pressure on. But when you're having a quarterback that's able to extend plays and you have an opportunity to get him down and he steps up in the pocket past your rush, now your linebackers have to at least come up and respect him, right? Because if you don't respect him, he runs for a long one, maybe breaks off a 10 or 15 yarder.
Yeah.
If you come up and you act like you're going to respect him and take his ability to run away, well, now the back half have to be there where they're supposed to be. And usually by that time, as he stepped up in the pocket, now you're at 6, you're at 7, you're at 8 seconds. And with the secondary that has struggled, you're just asking for guys that are just going to run wide open. And I think people forget also, this was a playoff team that they faced. Yes, they didn't have like a world beaters record, but they were a playoff team. They did beat the Eagles, I believe.
Yep.
And so they showed that they were a team that has been together a while. Washington had showed that they are a team that still trying to figure things out and trying to find some players that can actually find their heart somewhere and, get up and actually do their job instead of and realizing this isn't Ron Rivera anymore. And I guarantee you that the coaching staff had some words in the locker room after the game.
So we have a question in the chat. Didn't the Giants get dismantled yesterday, 28-6? So that's a good segue into our next opponent. So thank you, Troy, for that. Yeah, I mean, this will be the real test, right? Both teams kind of sucked in week one, and someone's got to get right week. And this is our home opener. We're supposed to be showing something here, and CP3 will be in the building. Gonna give a shout out to him. He's got a brand new camera. Might do some either live reporting, take some pictures. We don't know. It's up in the air this year, but he's season ticket holder, so good on him. I'm excited to get his perspective, going to the game next week. But Dujane, what do you think we have to do to get right against the Giants?
I think first and foremost on defense is definitely doing what Minnesota did, and that was completely taking away the run. Singletary has been in a lot of places and not disrespecting him as a running back, but he's no Saquon Barkley. So I'm not really that high on Minnesota's defense, and if you watch the show, our guy Serge the Shooter is not high on them either. And they were able to do a pretty darn good job of taking away the run. Daniel Jones throwing the ball 42 times. You all know that's a recipe for disaster. He is a below average quarterback getting paid like he's a respectable one, and he's not. 2 interceptions for that game. He only threw for 186 yards. This is real simple. Take away the run, and when you get pressured, get him down. Because you know what? If he gets loose, it's the same song. Yeah. As it was in week one, no matter how ridiculously garbage-like he is.
Oh God, if they beat us next week, I'm gonna be really upset.
I said all season long, I'm gonna remind Giants fans that their franchise got fleeced by Daniel Jones. That was a freaking robbery. He should be in jail for grand larceny.
Yeah. But that's their coaching staff and that's their management. I watched the Hard Knocks. I'm not really high on anybody in that department. To let Saquon Barkley go in the fashion that they did, and then to act like you guys are going to be okay is ridiculous. And Washington should take out their frustrations against a team that is poorly coached and poorly run, period. If they don't, this fan base is going to explode. That's all I have to say. They will explode, and I don't blame them because enough is enough. And at some point, somebody's got to find a sense of pride, especially, and I'm talking mainly about the holdovers from the Rivera era. Somebody's got to find something. I'm really tired of hearing people talk and give you the coaches speak and take responsibility, but yet don't show that you take responsibility by doing your job on the football field, as big as you are and talented as you are. I just didn't see that type of fire on the defense like we should be seeing. Because if they can do that, they're going to be a tough unit up front to deal with. And a bright spot on defense is Jamin Davis. I think everybody should be happy about what you saw from him. Deron Payne still doing his thing. John Allen quietly, had a few tackles. I think there needs to be more from him. But overall, defense can't really talk about anything. They got a lot of work to do, and they just need to put their heads down and get to work. And
I thought that was going to be the bright spot. I knew the offense would have hitches and stuff. They have to, work at new quarterback and all that sort of stuff. And I thought if we were going to win that game, we have to hang our hat on. I still think that against the Giants, the defense needs to show up. I really because they've got more veterans in positions of like, you know what I mean? Like you've got a rookie quarterback. You got to help him out. Like the defense needs to step up and give him some opportunities, some extra drives, you know, like it's imperative, you know?
Yeah, I honestly did not see the defense being a bright spot just because of the secondary. That's my biggest problem. It's
Yeah.
all contingent on the front seven doing their job, and I expect some of those guys. St. Juice can be more consistent. He had some. He made some plays. Um, you know, they just have to be more consistent on that end, and the front seven has to just simply get home and do their job. I mean, we saw this. We don't have. They're not completely Dallas Cowboy Dan Quinn prime yet, but they have guys who have the ability to be disruptive, and that is a good point. I think your point with the rookie quarterback, I agree, but you know, I really think that Jaden is just he's showing how talented he really is. And I think his ability to be able to stay calm, cool, and collected, make the right decisions when necessary. I do think they need to take a little bit, give him some quicker reads. But again, it's hard to say because I thought that the offense was not, it wasn't, it was vanilla. That's just my thing.
They got to get Scary Terry more involved. I think there's got to be a connection there. You have such talented people. And is that a touchdown or is that incomplete? Oh, just on the sorry. We're right now. It's 13-7 San Francisco. There's 12 seconds left. It's gonna be 3rd and 10. It's kind of a big moment in this game. It's right off of his fingertips, and he thought, yeah.
Yeah, that's bad.
But it was very close. I don't know why they ran it on first down there because they had 24 seconds on the clock. I kind of feel like keep the timeout in your pocket and throw it 3 times, in my opinion. But I mean,
yeah,
I get it, but you know, it'll be interesting here. So let's just keep here for a second. 3rd and 10. Big play right now for the 49ers, who are up 13-7. And what happened? Did they call a timeout? Yeah, the Jets called a timeout. All right. Totally. Thanks for ruining my flow there, Jets. But anyway, we will I'll let you guys know what happens after that. But real quickly, let's switch gears to the other Beltway team. I know we'll have Tim on a little bit later to talk Ravens with us, but it was such a close ending. Just his foot was on the line. It could have gone both ways. I thought that the Ravens played well at times, but they just made too many mistakes. And they just kept on adding up, just missing, just overshooting him, just a lot of stuff. I just don't know if Kansas City's in his head. I don't know what the deal is. They seem to have their number in a very frustrating way. But I think the Ravens will still be a really good team this year. I just think that I don't know. It feels like some unluckiness right there at the end.
Revenge is something. And I know that's what they want. I think it's too much to the forefront. There needs to be more focus. Again, same issues in the moments when you need to be big. And it's not coming down on Lamar, but you gotta make those plays. And you had Zay Flowers wide open. Games, you got an opportunity right there. And 3 times, 3 misses. They can't keep doing that. And I would like to see more from Henry. Henry to me looks slow. He looks very slow coming out of the gates. It's almost like watching, I don't know. It's like watching a slow-mo video. To me, he just looks really, really slow. I don't see any quickness about him, but at the same time, he's strong and over time, he's going to wear down a defense. So,
I think
they have
they'll get a chemistry going. It takes some time, and I mean, he's still so strong. I think in certain situations, goal line, he's going to be
Yeah,
a difficult guy to take down. And
yeah,
you can't ever have too many goal line, backs, in my opinion. And I think in both situations, for the Ravens and the Commanders, I think their quarterbacks almost ran too much. I almost would have liked to,
yeah.
which is odd for me to say, right? Like historically for the Commanders, like it's always, they're passing too much. But in this case, I thought. I don't want to wear him down too much, and I just didn't think it was the right play. There was a question in chat from Troy from Facebook, and he said, "Did we sign a new kicker?" And I wanted to get Dujane, your thoughts on the kicking situation for the Commanders before we switch over to some wrestling. So, what are your thoughts? I know he's a young guy, right? I don't actually know very much about him.
I don't know very much about him either. I assume he's a young guy. I had to kind of dig in this a little bit more, but look, Cade York had plenty of tape on him to show what he was before he got here. And in preseason, he showed who he was in preseason. And everybody knows how the old saying goes, right? When somebody shows you who they are the first time, you better believe them. And Washington just should have believed them. Now, I do give them a lot of credit for, CP3 was talking about that in the chat about giving him an opportunity. And okay, and they did the right thing by getting rid of him so they can get that seventh rounder back. But he should have never really made it to the 53 anyway, because he showed the same stuff that he did in preseason, he did in the first game. I mean, his draws were so pissy. I mean, you could pretty much ring them out. The moment was way too big, too often. And, that 6 points right there off the board and shaky extra points. Can't have that. Can't have that when your offense has the opportunity or gets an opportunity to either put you in scoring range or they do get a touchdown, especially with the things we're dealing with on defense. And, obviously you want to build confidence of your young quarterback in this young offense, really. So I don't have a problem with it. I just don't feel like he should have made the 53 in the first place. I do think this time, though, with this guy, you're going to have to live with it. There can't be any more changes in that regard. You're going to have to live with it and not run from this too quickly. And because I think Joey Sly, and I said this before, was they pulled the trigger too quick on him. He was a scapegoat, and that wasn't right. And look at Sly's doing just fine. And CP3 made a point. It all started with David Akers.
Yeah, we always just cut people too soon. I mean,
Yep.
there's a whole line. We could literally spend the next 10 minutes on kickers that we've let go too soon. That could just be a whole segment. But I just wanted to pull up his stats. In 2019, he had 16 games played. He was 86. He made his one attempt at 34 last year. That was his most recent one. But he was with the Jets, with the Lions for a couple of years, Cincinnati. But obviously, they didn't trust him enough to be the number one for a lot of these situations, is what it looks like. So seems like a career backup. But who knows? His his
The stats
long
aren't horrible.
yeah, he's got a 53 in 2019. He had a 52 in 21. He made things past 50 in his career. So that's at least a starting point. And obviously they must have seen something in a competition or some reason they brought him in.
Yep.
So anyway, I just wanted to throw out some stats about him for people who didn't know. Just real quickly, if people didn't see, this is our picks for this week. So CP3 Hurt and Champ did think we were going to get W's this week preseason, but a lot of us thought that we would rebound here next week. It's one of the very few weeks where we all pick W's, which terrifies me because that almost never works out when we all pick one way. But I just want to throw that out there. People want to see all these picks for the whole season. It's kind of fun to look back on them to see where they are. What do you think, Dujane? Are you still happy with your 10 wins, or do you think after what you saw week one, you think that was a bit of an overshoot?
Uh, I think the 10 wins are there. I really do, because I believe in this coaching staff. And I believe that your people that you picked up, like Frankie Louvu, Bobby Wagner, Jeremy Chin, a lot of these guys are going to be the difference makers in that ability to help the front seven. You know what you got in John Allen and Deron Payne. Jamin Davis showing his ability on the edge. It's just a matter of finishing the job. They did a good job of starting, but they just didn't finish plays. And if they can start to finish plays and really start to take on the personality of their defensive coordinator and their head coach, I really do believe that they have the ability to get 10 wins.
Yeah. I hope you're right. I undershot this year. I was the low ball with the 7. I unfortunately been right 3 out of the 5 years. I'm hoping I'm very wrong here. I'm hoping that Benson and CP3 with 11 and 6 are obviously the big winners of the pool.
Yeah.
You win nothing, by the way, but just bragging rights. But anyway, it's fun to do it. And if anyone wants to still make their picks even after week 1, they can go to the Sports on the Hill podcast page over on Facebook and comment on there, and then we can come back and see who gets close at the end. And it's always fun to do. I do want to get a quick wrestling talk in a little bit with Dugenais since we have him and Champ on, and then we'll get Dugenais on out of here to watch the second half of the Jets, which look like it's going to be perfect. There's about 8 minutes left in halftime, so
Yeah.
we'll get you right there for that. They got it 16-7. San Francisco is up. They ended up opting for a field goal there at the end and of the first half. Dujanay, what are some of your thoughts? I've actually gotten back into WWE. I've been DVRing it and watching it on my free time because now I have YouTube TV, so I can just watch it, in places. My wife does not love wrestling, so I try to do it without her around. But it's been some interesting storylines that have been going on. I just want to get some of your overall thoughts on what you think the WWE is doing lately.
I think they're doing a good job. They got some really good storylines going on Raw. I think the women's division is exceptional. I do think at some point, though, I'm enjoying the tag team between Jade and Bianca. I think it's a good pair up for her. But, all these people, I'm a Jade fan too, but we have to be realistic here. And she's still getting spot fest. There's a reason for that. I applaud them, though, for not putting her in too many singles matches and turning her into a Goldberg. Let her develop, because I think the talent is immense. She showed it. And again, I'll say it again, Tony Khan deserves a lot of credit for making her a star and got her paid by the WWE. So exceptional there. The bloodline is the bloodline. This week, SmackDown goes to USA, which I'm really excited about. 3-hour show is going to be something. A lot of surprises from what I understand. And I enjoy the fact that the WWE is working together with TNA and doing some crossover here. I really wish Tony Khan would get out of his own way and stop stepping on his crank and, stop worrying about what Triple H and the WWE are doing. They have their own product, and it's a good product. And imagine what it could be if all 3 promotions could work together and have these different type of cross matches, maybe even cross pay-per-views. I think it could be something special. But at the end of the day, wrestling's in a good spot. It's in a really good spot. I'm happy that LA Knight is a champion. There are so many others that are deserving. I was not okay with Damian Priest losing the title. I think this feud is interesting, but I don't know. I just feel like this is what you did to for him to lose the title again. And I know he can get it back and all that, and that's great. But I'm not sure if I'm okay with what has transpired. Rhea is Rhea, and I think she's going to eventually get her championship back. But you can't deny what Liv Morgan is doing with that championship. She has continued to evolve as a women's wrestler and is doing a quite a good job. I will say this though, Robbie, for individuals who complained about the AEW pay-per-view here All Out, I say this. Most of you wanted the smoke and you wanted that type of wrestling until you didn't. You know, it's kind of the old saying that you want the smoke until you get it, and then when you get it, you don't all of a sudden, no, that's not what I was talking about. Look, just admit you like PG wrestling, and that's okay. But don't complain about the wrestling and the blood or your level of violence that you feel that it is over at AEW. Don't complain about it, because that's what everybody wanted. They wanted an alternative. Look, you're just a PG guy. You like Vince McMahon wrestling, and that's okay. But don't crap on what they're doing over there, because, again, they're two different products, two different types of wrestling.
You think it's to be still as PG once it moves over and is no longer on Fox?
I don't think so, because they know where the money is, okay? Yeah. Right now, regardless of all that ratings crap, I don't care. The bottom line is that AEW is doing something that WWE wish it could do. And I think SmackDown will change once it goes to USA, and once Raw goes to Netflix, I think that changes tremendously. Once it goes to Netflix, I think there's going to be a change as well. I'm not saying Attitude Era, but I think you're going to see more of an edge on the style of wrestling that we're seeing from WWE to kind of match what AEW is doing. And again, this is why you need these promotions, because
they'll push each other.
They're pushing each other. Exactly. Because we all been there, and we all remember what wrestling was like when there was just WWE. They were comfortable and it was boring.
There's like recycled storylines all over. It's kind of why I fell off of wrestling to begin with, because I like the old Hollywood Hogan and all that sort of stuff. And then, and I liked the Attitude Era, and then it just kind of fell off for me, right? And I honestly didn't even watch it until Champ brought it back into my life, right? And then I usually just let him tell me about it. But you guys have been so excited the last year or so that it started to actually develop, me back into it. And I love that, because I don't have time to watch AEW and all the other ones, but I get an update from Champ, and then I can just watch WWE. And I've been pretty impressed by the product recently, and I think that there's good storylines, and I'm very impressed by the choreography and the because each show is very different, and a lot of them are shot very different. So as somebody who's a film editor, I always find they have different directors for different episodes, because they have different cameras, different back end stories, they follow you through tunnels and different, you know what I mean? So I see that from a video perspective. They change it up. It's not the same storytelling technique week after week, which I think is good. I don't think, it would get stale and it would become oh, here it is. But sometimes some are quick matches. Like this last week, there was a couple of real quick matches. But then there's some that are going through a commercial break, tell a story, gets you drawn in. I don't love Braun Breaker. I know some people do. He's not my favorite guy.
They changed him. That's what I don't like. They changed him. I feel like he's changed, and that's not going to work. The Braun Breaker that came in is the Braun Breaker everybody wants, and what we're seeing right now just isn't him.
Now he's kind of reminds me of the characters in wrestling that used to have spiky chain collars and just try to be very gruff. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to make him into that sort of role, in it. But
I don't like it.
I don't like it either. It doesn't sell for me, and I'm kind of oh great, he's the unstoppable juggernaut now. There's no character, there's no
no.
I also don't particularly love his mic skills. I just don't find him very interesting on the story that he's telling. For me, he loses me there, right? I don't care to root for him. I mean, I guess maybe he's a heel, so maybe I'm supposed to be rooting against him. So I guess, but I don't know. he seems very vanilla to me. Like he doesn't have it for me for like a
Right.
champion. I don't know.
Isn't it funny
Yeah.
that Roman has barely said 2 words, and every time he shows up, the whole place, the roof blows off the place? He's barely said anything yet.
I wish he could take the IC title, right? Just like I understand it would be like totally flipping the script, but just like randomly just challenge him and just take him out. And just like that would be like something out of nowhere, right? No one would expect it. Like
Yeah,
and big people have held that title too, So like,
absolutely.
so like it would be because I feel like the top titles he can't get right now. There's no way like he
No,
gets the pop, but whatever. But like how awesome would that be if they somehow got a storyline where he just goes against him? I think that would be something fresh and different. I don't know. I don't know where
isn't it wild that Roman is to the point where he doesn't need a title now?
that's
He
true.
doesn't need it
But
at
that was
all.
more exciting than he at least get him back in the mix wrestling more often. I don't know. Like I just don't feel like he's not really going for the championship stuff right now. I don't really know what I don't know where this story is going. So I don't it's kind of like throwing me for some loops because I just felt like they would have brought him in more. But I think we'll find out more with this first one over. I think they're saving it part of it for this week's SmackDown.
Yeah, I mean, Rock's going to be involved in this somehow because he said he was going to challenge Cody for the title. I think that the story will turn in that Solo has been getting his orders from Rock. That's what I think. Because at some point you have to build it towards Rock and Roman, right? So
Right.
I believe that at some point there will be some type of thing to where Solo has been getting this direction and to go in this
That
route
actually makes
from
so
Rock.
much sense. I'm so happy that you have that on here. I'm gonna love it if we come back to this and that was the story because that actually makes more sense than what I figured that they were doing. I thought they were just trying to get Roman back and just bring the original, squad, those four against the new ones, and see if that was the direction.
Now
I
that
thought.
might come back at some point. That might
Yeah.
actually happen at some point. But I think right now, I think there's two storylines within this whole bloodline thing that you can go with. And right now, at some point, Rock's got to be able to fulfill his promise that he made Cody that he'd be back to challenge for that title. And that's where he will lie in this new version of the fake bloodline. And eventually the original bloodline will come back. And I think you'll see the Usos come back and maybe even Sami Zayn. Who knows?
Right. I kind of hope so. I feel like they haven't been using.
I had a
Sami
soundbite about this that's on Dujanay's Instagram, by the way. I just want to put that out there.
Okay.
That's right.
Yeah. I will get Champ's thoughts on all of these things, and it's going to be my teaser for people to stay into the end of the show. But because I do want to get his thoughts on where we think all this is going, and I think I'm curious his thoughts on if Sami Zayn is underused as well, because I think he's a talent that they should definitely be doing more with. And I just feel like he keeps getting the short end of the stick, and I'm like, I don't know. But Dujanay, I know I've kept you a little bit over, but I really appreciate you talking. If you want to get more wrestling, Dujanay will have Champ on his show during this upcoming fall season as well, from time to time to talk more wrestling and get his thoughts on all of this as well. So definitely go check out. I'm going to give the command once more. But Dujanay, what are you doing on your show tomorrow?
Tomorrow is all NHRA. It is the playoffs this weekend as the countdown begins. So there's supposed to be a top 10. There's participation trophies here. So you got about a top 12 or 13, but it's really a top 10. They reset the points, and for the next 6 races, every point counts towards people jockeying for position to win the championship. So we're going to preview that. We're going to talk about guys who are hot, guys who have the potential to come in and be an upset. to get the championship, and kind of break down what's going to happen and what we're looking at here as they go into Maple Grove Raceway this weekend and start week 1 of the NHRA playoffs.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you can catch her on the Not Bland show. I just got the graphic to pop up on Twitch. You can Twitch/NotBland21. So I'll give a shout out to that. But you can also check him on YouTube, the Not Bland show, and search either Not Bland21 or the Not Bland show everywhere. You can go back and check more of his. He talked about all the different games, a lot more games than he was able to talk about tonight here on this show. So you get his thoughts on those as well as wrestling and racing all fall long, and he'll be coming back on this show every couple of weeks to break down the Commanders as well, which we always appreciate. And Dujane, any final things you want to shout out before we let you go?
Oh man, just like and subscribe to the show, and give our sponsor a try there. I know a lot of people are not really drag racing fans, but you know what? You guys are the best candidates for Drag Race Bracket Bonanza. It is dragracebracketbonanza.com. You can go in, you can create yourself an account, you can sign up, and basically at this race, once qualifying is over, you pick all the drivers in each category you think you're gonna win through each round all the way to the end, and you win free prizes. I mean, I've got plaques that I won in the early debut of this thing. They've had some prize packs that included stuff from Peak, Summit Racing equipment, nice seats and different hats and things like that. They had a die cast that was being given away. In the playoffs, which it doesn't matter whether you start now or you were starting from the beginning. In the playoffs, those who finish in the top 3 get championship belts. So it's going to be fun. And there's some special trophies that they give out at some of the big races that they will have. And I believe there's one more left, which is the Stampede of Speed in Dallas. So go over to dragracebracketbonanza.com. You guys are the best candidates because you know very little about drag racing and you won't overthink it.
Yeah, that's true. All right, cool. Well, thank you for all of that. Definitely go check out the sponsor as well. And Dujane, I appreciate you being a part of our podcast team for all these seasons. Again, you can go to sportsothp.com, click the podcast partners button. You can get all of the latest links there. Also, you can click on Team Sports OTHP, and it's got links to all of his different things, whether it be Twitter or X or whatever it's called, or any of his different platforms over there. So, Dujane, thank you for your time as always, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, brother. Y'all have a great show.
All right, thank you so much. All right, so we're gonna bring in our next guest, Timmy. The Ravens, and we got I got the Ravens logo up. I'm trying to be all profesh. I like the Caps jersey.
Oh yeah, did it for you.
Yeah, there you go. I appreciate that. All right, so I know it's kind of a bit of a downer, but what were your thoughts on the Ravens game overall? I thought it was close. I thought that they played really well. I'm going to listen. I'm going to refill my water while you give your just initial take on it, and then I will ask a couple more questions.
Yeah, sounds good. I mean, definitely great close game. Probably an instant classic regular season game for the NFL. So at least the Ravens fought hard and kept it very close. Definitely a disappointing loss, though, to lose that way with having the tying touchdown waved off by the refs. Definitely the correct call, but still you want to at least tie it there. So it was a big bummer at the end. But I do think the offensive line is the biggest concern for the Ravens moving forward. Defense wasn't great, but looks pretty strong. And the rest of the offense got better as the game went along. I think just the team, the line especially, needs some time to gel. They scored, 20 points isn't bad, but just to be a more high-powered offense, they're going to need the offensive line to play better. But But that being said, on the last drive, they were able to move the ball a lot and protect for the most part. So I would say that's the main weakness, is just being able to block for the run game and keep Lamar healthy and not getting sacked. But it's going to take some time because the O-line is so young and they have 3 new starters. But at the end of the day, most of the AFC North didn't look great, especially on offense. Only the Steelers won.
Yeah.
And they didn't score a lot of points. They look good on defense, but they don't look invincible. And the Ohio teams look really flawed, especially on offense. So I would say just going into Kansas City, they're getting their trophies, great team, a lot of emotion. To get that close is promising. And I would say the Chiefs actually showed a lot of respect post-game. Like, they thought it could potentially be a postseason matchup. And they seemed to, say they thought the Ravens were a strong playoff caliber team. Obviously, vice versa. Chiefs are Super Bowl contender again. But I would say for the schedule, just looking ahead, Ravens have to win this week against the Raiders at home. Weak team because they're playing the Cowboys and Bills after that, so it gets tough.
Yeah.
But yeah, feeling good about next week though.
Tim,
Yeah.
what did you think about prior to that pass that ended up getting called back as out of bounds? The pass that he threw where the receiver was wide effing open and he completely missed.
He didn't
Oh
see.
yeah.
It turns out he said he didn't even see him. Like, he was just throwing it away, and it looked like it was a miss. That's what he said after the game. He's like, I never even saw him there.
That makes more sense. I mean, it's a bad read miss then, not a bad
Yeah.
throw, but
Yeah.
still kind of shocking because Flowers is maybe the top target or one of the top 3 targets on the team.
Yeah,
So I know he looks for him. But Lamar also did some great things on that drive, so it's not like
Yeah, no, it's also week 1.
yeah.
I think it's a bit of chemistry, and in chat,
Yeah.
his music just said that it took a while for the O-line to get last year too, and ended up doing well. Hopefully, it's the same trend this year.
Yeah,
And I
that's true.
agree. I think that the Ravens, you want them to trend up, and obviously having such a tough competition week 1, I think sets you up well. Hopefully for your home opener. In addition to that, did you?
Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, did you end up watching that Ravens game?
I did watch it, and that was a really fun game to watch. It was. You kind of figured it was a rematch from the playoffs last year. 2 dynamic teams, 2 dynamic quarterbacks, and Pat Mahomes and Lamar. Lamar still played a really good game, even though towards that stretch, again, that missed throw to Zay Flowers, even though he's saying, yeah, I was throwing it away. It just looked like he just missed Zay Flowers. And then to have the toe be the reason that they fall short
I
against
celebrated so hard too. I thought he had it. I was
Yeah, it looked like it in real time.
That was heartbreaking, to be honest with you. But also what pissed me off was that Xavier Worthy, who I drafted on the recommendation of a friend of mine, and I ended up sitting him on the bench in favor of Scary Terry, and he had almost 20 points while Terry didn't even have 3 points.
Yeah, take him
in
off
fantasy.
the bench
So
from now
I
on.
was so pissed off about that one. But I mean, this is a great way to start off the season with these 2 teams on Thursday night. It was great to watch. It was great. It was great TV. And I mean, it was a tough loss for Baltimore, honestly, because it wasn't like they played poorly. They played well. It's just that KC just managed to play just a touch better. And that's what's the difference when it comes to professional football, is that if your opponent plays even a touch better than you, that's enough to be able to win a football game.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely. And those are the most painful losses most of the time, the close ones. But like I said, if the Ravens win next week, they're in decent shape. because the schedule gets easier eventually. It's just kind of front loaded, and they've got a lot of talent again. So it's not they have most of their team back. Obviously lost the defensive coordinator, so that's going to take some time too on defense just to get used to. But he was an assistant on their team, so he knows the players. They know him. He knows the scheme, but he's still younger than us. I mean, first time coordinator, like mid 30s, early 30s. So that was his first game. Couple bad plays, especially fourth quarter. They gave, I think it was to Worthy's second touchdown, just wide open, blown coverage. But they were able to pick off Mahomes, and at the end of the game, they held Kansas City to a punt, which gave them a chance. And that's kind of what you need. Like, if the defense can give you the ball back, you can go and score and go to OT. That's kind of what you got to ask for, especially against a great team. Like, you just want to have the ball at the end. So, but they should get better. It's just going to take some time.
Yeah, it's the Jets just very much did a
Jets did up.
Yeah, they did. It was right in his hands. He smashed it out of his hands, one guy, and it bounced right to the 49ers player's hands. And
Still trash, man. Even with Rodgers, finally.
Yeah, I know. And it was a good throw, and he just really good defense punched it away from the guy, and it bounced to the other player's hands. Like it's such a
Yeah, I'm
Jets,
just watching that now.
such a
That's
Jets moment.
Rodgers' face is funny too. He's
Yeah.
like, he's like, this is not fun. He
Yeah,
could have been RFK Jr.'s VP,
yeah,
which
yeah,
I guess wouldn't have been better. But
that's true. But I guess, Champ, I do want to let you talk a little bit about the Commanders. I know we had Dujanay talk about them earlier. But what were some of your thoughts? Do you have any additional thoughts that you wanted to add before we start talking about the league in general?
Well, I mean, not really much that can be said that DJ hasn't already said. I mean, again, the secondary was the definite question mark going into the season, and it showed that there's a lot of work that needs to be done with that secondary. It's a very young secondary. The fact that a rookie wide receiver who gets his first NFL touchdown basically wide open and handed to him is a bit of a troubling trend for me. But it is what it is. Hopefully, again, they're able to make the adjustments they need to because they have a divisional game right off the bat, second game of the season. So they got to really, they're already off to an 0-1 start. They can't afford to go 0-1 in the division by losing to the Giants, who absolutely got embarrassed by Minnesota. You don't want to lose there, otherwise it's looking like a grim season off the break. I don't mean to sound like that, but that's just the way it looks.
Yeah, I don't disagree. Tim, did you watch any of the Commanders game this week? Or
I watched a lot of the second half. I didn't catch most of the first half.
yeah,
I generally know what happened. I mean, I feel like, yeah, just falling behind is tough on the road in the first half by multiple scores. It's a lot to ask of a rookie quarterback to come back. Like, it sounds like he showed promise, but I think there were a couple turnovers, right?
yeah.
So it's going to be tough though, because if they're going to be giving up a lot of passes and points early, I feel like they're not really built to come from behind. So
But
if they're going to,
it was really,
yeah,
for me, it was really the defense. The defense just let them do whatever they wanted on almost any drive. It's just I don't know. I found them to be very yeah, it was. So I guess he had three fumbles that he lost by rushing, so
yeah,
um so no interceptions. I just wanted to clarify that part of it. But yeah, it's not good enough. They just couldn't
but yeah,
get a
still
lot of
three
it
is a
really.
lot.
Yeah, exactly. So, well, I mean, he's just running too much, in my opinion. Like, they just got to get out of his hands a lot quicker. And
Yeah.
so I do want to switch gears a little bit. Let me see if I can get this screen to show up here. And then I can do this over.
Madden is pissing me off. God damn it.
Yeah, that sucks.
I'm actually playing a quick game against the Bears, and I actually got a pick six with one of the DBs, but Caleb Williams is fucking killing me right now.
Yeah. Um,
Well, you gotta brag
And I
some on
and I
Robbie's
just and I just had
13-2.
my and I just had my extra point blocked, by the way. So I just want to put that out there. How pissed off I am about that.
that sucks. Just a little scoring update. San Francisco did score a touchdown. They're up 23-7 now. 5:10 left in the third. Second and 8 for San Francisco, and then they got the ball, intercepted. So I forgot that I never gave that other scoring update. They currently have the ball, second and 8 on the 48 of the Jets. So let's look at some of the fantasy numbers after the pick'em numbers after this first week, just to go through the games in general. The Eagles were able to beat the Packers. This game was in Brazil. It was a Friday night game, first South American one in a weird situation where they're not supposed to wear green. So they had these like odd color uniforms. The New York Giants fans were trying to talk trash about Saquon Barkley, like, oh, we don't need him. And he goes off and scores 3 touchdowns for the Eagles. First guy to score 3 touchdowns for the Eagles debut since I want to say it was Terrell Owens in the 90s or the early 2000s or whatever that
Yeah,
was.
that's
Yeah.
correct. I saw that.
Yeah, and Atlanta Falcons lost to the Pittsburgh Steelers. I got that one wrong. I thought in Atlanta that they may have a shot at that one. Buffalo Bills were able to play against the Cardinals, beat them 34-28. The Bears beat Tennessee 24-17. The Texans beat the Colts 29-27. The Dolphins. There's some interesting storylines in this game. But they were able to win the on-field game 20-17. But the wide receiver Tyreek Hill was detained / arrested outside of the venue right before on I believe it was a parking violation, and so then they came back with one of the touchdown celebrations where they pretend to take him off the field in cuffs, which I thought was a great answer in that one. I don't know if you guys saw that, but
Yeah, that was quickly put together. Kind of impressive to do it on the fly like that. It's not a lot of practice time.
Very true. Champ, what were your thoughts on that story? It's kind of crazy.
I actually wanted to watch the body cam video because apparently Miami-Dade County released the body cam, so I want to watch the body cam
I haven't
to
seen
see
that yet.
what led to.
Yeah, it just came out.
What happened? Yeah, it just came out. I haven't had a chance to watch it because the only videos I got to see were from bystanders who just saw him in cuffs on the ground, face down. So I want to see because everybody knows that I've been watching body cam videos for over a year now, mostly of DUIs and of trespasses and shoplifting. And so I want to look to see what led to this because something had to lead to these guys being so aggressive with him and putting him on the ground and cuffing him over a moving violation. So I want to know what led to this. So I'm gonna watch the body cam video probably tomorrow. And if you want to ask me this question next week, I'll give you my thoughts next week. But
I'm pulling it up right.
Yeah, it's hard to say what happened until we watch it because something started.
Yeah, I just realized I'm sharing the wrong screen because I actually found it, and I could pull it up live. Hold on. Let me switch to this. Where is that screen? Screen share. Sorry, hold on. I'm gonna switch screens to this one, and where is it? I have it here. Hold on, here we go. You guys see that?
Yep.
And does that work? All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, because I am curious about this too. So, the officers are.
Oh, he bikes the game? Or that's them?
No, that's them.
Oh, okay, I got you.
All right. So the guy bikes to.
Why don't you have your seatbelt on my window like that now? Like what? Don't knock on my window like that. Why you have it up? Don't knock on my window like that. Why you have it up? I have to knock to let you know I'm here. Don't knock. Now we can lower it and talk to you. Just get my ticket, bro, so I can go. I'm gonna be late, gang. Do what you gotta do.
Yeah, see, Tyreek already escalating shit.
Keep it down. Hey.
Yeah, he already escalated.
Keep your window down.
He already escalating shit.
Oh shit!
Yeah, he was mad when they started talking because of the loud knock, I guess.
Keep your window down. Keep your window down. I'm gonna get you out of the car. As a matter of fact, get out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car. Get out of the car right now. We're not playing this game. Get out. 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 Damn. What part of the you in?
Oh shit!
I'm getting arrested, dude. I'm getting
Like I
arrested.
said, I've watched a year's worth of body cam videos. When they start acting like that, police don't like that shit, and they will
We tell you to do something, you do it. You understand? You understand? Not with you,
So,
but
no disrespect. No disrespect. Tyreek kind of asked for this.
Yeah, he did. This is
He asked for
interesting.
this. He asked for this. Because it was a simple traffic violation. All he had to do was just roll his window down, be chill, let them explain, let them do their thing, get your ticket, and you go. You don't have to get all snippy with the cops, talk about don't knock on my window like that, and then roll the window up on them. That's why they come at you like, and this is what black people don't understand. Cops will be cool with you if you just shut the fuck up and just listen. But the problem is that you black people get automatically amped up when they get approached by cops, and they escalate situations before they even know what's going on. And that's why this happens. And then they turn around and say, well, cops are racist, this, that, and the third. And it's just like, no, they're not racist. You escalated the situation because you got amped up immediately before knowing what's going on. That's why anytime I've had not a lot of interaction with police, but I've been absolutely respectful. I've absolutely been calm.
Yeah,
and all
this
I've
guy
gotten
gets
was
it.
tickets.
Yeah,
you have to suck. If you suck up, it works for sure. I mean, that's what they're used to too.
Not even sucking up. It's just like, just chill. Just chill and just listen to what's going on. Understand what's going on before you react. Don't just immediately react with aggression and be like, how he was acting. Now, I get that a lot of people will say, oh, they went a little too much with it just being a traffic violation. Yes, but he escalated the situation.
He did definitely escalated it.
He immediately had attitude. He immediately went after. He was aggressive. They don't know what's going on. Cops don't know what you got going on and things like that. They don't care who you are, or what you do. They just know that a violation has been committed, and they need to investigate before they do anything else. And that's what was not done here.
Yeah. For sure. I'm happy that thank you for letting me know that came up. We could actually live analyze that on air. And so
we became CNN for 5 minutes.
Exactly. 5 minutes. Late breaking news. There you go. And that's why we do the video feed, and it's the same video feed across all platforms now. If you're on Kick, YouTube, Facebook, or on Twitch. And then we also had we had the intro live for the first time on it, so that way the audio and the video will be exactly the same show now going forward, which is kind of cool. Cincinnati, unfortunately, well, I guess I can't believe the Patriots got won this game. I guess it's good for you, Tim, overall, that you would want the Patriots to beat Cincinnati.
Yeah. I mean, I hate them too, but the Bengals are a bigger threat right now in the division, and I think they're still a better team. I mean, clearly the Bengals are
91% of people on ESPN picked them, and so
huge betting favorites. Yeah, huge betting favorites. I mean, it's not crazy. They were at home. They were definitely a stronger team last year. So
I heard that so many people in their pools where they had to pick a different team each week, almost everyone bet on this game.
So they're locked. Yeah, those lock things where I know what you mean, because then you're just done for the season, and that's a lot of people out immediately. So
no, I heard that 50% of people on the thing
that's great.
Suicide pools in the first week, because you're trying to see how many weeks you can get to the end, because you get knocked out by just screwing up once. So 50% got knocked out in the first week because of this game. So
that's pretty funny though. I like that.
I think it's pretty crazy that the Steelers beat Atlanta in Atlanta and didn't score not one touchdown.
Just great kicks by that over 50 plus by Boswell. So he was their MVP.
Tina says in her survivor pool that a lot of people pick Cincinnati in our office one. So there you go. Tina, who did you pick in your office survivor pool week one? I'm curious now. And so yeah, that was pretty interesting. We're down here. So the New Orleans Saints crushed the Carolina Panthers, who looked terrible this year. And the Minnesota, which looked decent, but I mean, it's the Giants, but it was still an opener in New York, but they sort of took care of business there for the Vikings. And then the matchup between the Seahawks and the Broncos, it's always close, but the Seahawks were able to prevail in that one. And then the Chargers were able to beat the Raiders, which this is, see, that would have been my lock, I think, of the week. I just felt like the Raiders weren't going to win in Los Angeles if I had to pick a lock, but I guess you want to save your teams, right? So like you probably want to, save maybe that Chargers for a later one. And then obviously we talked about the Buccaneers beating the Commanders. The Dallas Cowboys took care of business against the Cleveland Browns, but I don't know. The Browns always find a way to choke. And Detroit was able to beat the Rams 26-20. And then currently in this game, the Jets are going for a 2-point conversion. And do they get in? Nope. I think they're stopped just short, which is seemingly very Jets to be exactly half the score, 13-26 now, and a weird score there. But
Going for two, I guess it helped them a little bit because then it's an 8 point and a 3 point
oh,
ties
I
it.
thought he got in. I mean, let's see if this comes back. But it's hard to see. But Yeah, it'll be interesting. Let's take a look at some of our games for next week, and then we'll get into some Orioles news, and then we'll let Tim go, and then we'll talk a couple of other things. And then Liz wanted to actually come on and in chat and talk to me about some of the big Paralympic stories. Since we did have Olympic coverage this year, I wanted her to let us know about some of the big stories in the Paralympics that are happening as well. But let me get into next week's games just so people know what's coming up in week two. So there's the Dolphins in this Thursday night game. There's the Cowboys versus the Saints, which I think that the Cowboys should win that one at home, especially on Fox. Then we've got Detroit Lions over Tampa Bay. I thought Tampa Bay looked really good, but Detroit still was one of the best teams in the league last year. So we'll see if at home they continue that. Green Bay Packers, even though they lost that game, they played pretty well. And the Colts were not that impressive to me in their game. I don't know, Jets maybe in this one. Jets versus the Titans. We got 49ers at the Minnesota Vikings. We've got the Patriots hosting the Seattle Seahawks. I always bet against us to try to hopefully get us to win. So we'll see. I do think that we'll win this game, but I hedge my bets. And then we got the Chargers against the Panthers, who seem god awful. This is a tough one. The Browns and the Jaguars. It's kind of a toss-up one. I do like Jacksonville at home there, but Tim, what are your thoughts against the Browns Jaguars? That's a tough one.
Yeah, that is tough. I mean, the Jaguars looked like they were going to beat the Dolphins, but kind of choked at the end. Browns just look terrible at home. They're both going to be desperate to avoid 0-2. I'll probably just pick Jacksonville because they're at home, but I'm not convinced they're better. So that is tough. But I'll go with them at home.
Ken, what are your thoughts on that matchup? I think it's a tough one.
I gotta also go with Jacksonville as well. I mean, Cleveland looked absolutely god awful against Dallas, and everybody thought that Dallas's defense was not going to be the same with Dan Quinn leaving to become the head coach here in Washington. But they still look really good. And then Dak coming off getting that big contract extension, he's looking like he's got something to prove. Like, hey, there's a reason why I'm now the highest paid quarterback in the league, and he showed it in the dog pound, and he's going to show it. They're going to show. I mean, Cleveland just is not it.
Yeah,
It's not it.
I kind of agree. I'm going to pick the Rams here because they're kind of the obvious choice, which means I think the Cardinals are going to win this game. But I'm still going to pick the Rams because it's the obvious choice.
Jinx yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Pittsburgh Steelers, unfortunately, but I'm hoping the Mile High gives them an alt curse. There, it's one of the 4 o'clock games on CBS. We'll definitely take the Chiefs over the Bengals. We're going to take the Texans over the Bears, who did not look very good, even though they won that game. I still believe in the Texans more. I just think, that, especially at home, after that win. And then next Monday night, we'll have this game we'll cover live. And how could you ever pick the Falcons over the Eagles in that one? Wait, 15 of 16 picks. What did I not pick? Oh, this one? Did I unpick?
You just forgot to click it or clicked it twice, but
Yeah, I think I clicked
you
it twice.
definitely went over it.
Yeah. How many total? 60? Sure. So anyway, those are some of the upcoming games from next week. Is there any games that you particularly either one of you guys want to talk about before we switch gears and talk baseball? I'll let you start with Tim.
No, I guess I talked about the Ravens one and the Browns one a little bit. I'll just real quick touch on the Packers Colts because they announced that the Packers are starting their second string quarterback because of an injury. I don't even remember the guy's name, so it's not anybody proven. So I'll be interested. I could definitely see the Colts winning, but I could see why the Packers are favored. But I really think a lot of people are going to lean on the Colts because, just with an unproven backup starting, even in Lambeau, that's a bad recipe for winning.
Champ, is
But
there
yeah,
any
that's
games,
all I got.
Champ, any games you want to talk about for next week, or do you think we should move over to baseball?
I'm very interested in New England versus Seattle. Seattle looked absolutely phenomenal in their game, and then again, New England. No one had them winning at Cincinnati, but Gerard Mayo had that team ready to go, and they went out there and they did their thing against Joe Burrow and that Cincinnati offense. So. That's going to be a very interesting one to see what they could do with Geno Smith, who still looks like he is absolutely in phenomenal shape. Had a rushing touchdown in that game and everything like that. So that's going to be a very intriguing game. I think that's going to be one of the games that to keep an eye on because of the fact that the Patriots, this is their first season without Bill Belichick as their coach in 2 decades, or even more than well, at least 2 decades. And they and Gerard Mayo definitely looks like he's competent, but it's going to be interesting to see what he can do against this type of team, who's also playing without Pete Carroll as their coach for the first time in a long time as well, and they're going to be at home. So I want to see how this is going to go.
Oh, sorry. So Tina wanted me to confirm. She said I picked the Giants. I picked us to win, but in pick 'em, I bet against us. If that makes sense. So I'm
Yeah,
betting.
hedge your bets.
I'm hedging my bet, but I do think we will beat the Giants for the record. I will take the loss on the game to hopefully get the win in real life. But yeah, because we're very close in the pickup. But oh, she said I wanted to check back to see who she picked. I'm not in it, but my hubby is, and he picked Cincinnati, but changed it to Buffalo. It was smart to change it last minute. Uh, and she said, "Yeah, we'll probably make the Giants look like a Super Bowl ready team." Yeah, Tina, we seem to do that against any team, so that's why I'm definitely going to hedge my bets on that one because I don't trust us at all. Let's switch some gears and talk about the Orioles. And well, I'm gonna pick up the MLB standings real quickly. And put that up here. And they've been flirting with the Yankees for the top spot in the American League East. They've had an interesting couple of weeks here. They lost these last two to the Rays, but they did win that first one. They were able to beat the White Sox pretty handily 2 times, but then they got blown out on that Wednesday game. So those are some of the games from the last week. But overall, they've been having a good season. And Tim, what are your thoughts on the Orioles right now?
So big picture, you got to be happy that they're almost guaranteed a playoff spot, at least a wild card. Their odds are over 99%. So during a season where you have a ton of injuries, especially to pitching, just to make the playoffs is great because, as you guys know, in the MLB, the wild card teams do great all the time. Just look last year, they both made the World Series, and um, the last wild card in the AL won the World Series. So definitely, anybody who gets in the playoffs can do some damage. And the fact that the Orioles were in last year and got swept is good experience, and I think they'll learn. But in the short term, they've had a rough month or two, like you saw, very up and down, kind of 500 lately. So they have fallen out of first, still very close. One series in New York left, so that's going to be key. That'll probably decide it. The second to last series of the season. The key though is they should get 5 to 7 players back before the playoffs off the injury list, and it really matters how many of them come back and can be on the roster and not be rusty. So their roster now isn't anything like it'll probably look for the playoffs. So it's tough to win games right now with so many guys out, especially starting pitchers. But they have Grayson Rodriguez coming back, their number 2 starter, and an all-star Westberg in the infield is supposed to come back, plus a bunch of other bullpen guys and kind of bench guys they rely on, Kerstead. So it's been frustrating to have tons of injuries this year and lose first place temporarily, but it's so long. The season's way too long, and if you can just get in, like I said, you have a shot. So I'm just trying to kind of get through the regular season as a fan because it's getting to be like very up and down, but we'll see. I mean, I'm glad they're not brand new in the playoffs this year. But at the same time, if they can't get healthy, it's going to be tough to go to advance. But we'll see. I'm really just trying to get to October. So
Exactly. Yeah, we won't spend too much time on baseball talk tonight, but I did want to get an update on the Orioles because they have had a really good summer so far, and probably the best team in the DMV. I want to welcome in Texas Lizard in the chat, aka my wife Liz, and I want to thank her for subscribing for 33 months in a row. I know she isn't always in chat, but I really appreciate all the support, and also thank you to Tina French, who just had 24 months, so celebrating 2 full years of support there. So I appreciate both of you guys. And I appreciate Champ, who I know was subscribed 9 days ago for also 23 months as well. So I appreciate all of our longtime subscribers onto the channel. So I know that she does want to talk about a little bit of Olympics and the Paralympics, that is. And so I just want to give a little scoring update also. It's still 26-13, but Samuel is marching down the field, and they're just kind of just taking these under routes, and they're just slowly chipping away at it. The 49ers are, and Brock is just playing a great game. And yeah, so it's been an interesting thing. Oh, Tina, thank you so much for the bits. I really appreciate it. We're actually almost at the end of level 1, 81%. So that's pretty cool. I appreciate the hype train, everybody. And over on Twitch, there's also a Pokemon chat if you're over on Twitch. So I'm going to catch that with a great ball real quick. But I'm just going to show real quickly the standings on the National League side. It's not as good for the Nationals, 64 and 79. They've won only 4 out of the last 10 games. And they're pretty out of it here. There's just too many teams for them to have to jump over to make it at this point. But yeah, they've had another up and down week this past week. They were able to beat the Pirates a couple times. The Pirates also beat them a few times, and they we're able to. It's just been up and down for the last couple of weeks. And our upcoming games, we've got a game tomorrow against the Braves. They play again on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday they have a 4-game series at home against the Marlins. So it's 6:45 for the Thursday and Friday game. It's a 4:05 Saturday game, and almost as always on Sunday games to an afternoon 1:35 game. That is a good one to go to if you've got kids. They've got lots of activities for kids to go to for that as well. So that's it for on the national side. And yeah, so Tim, any final thoughts before we let you go tonight?
No, I'm just happy to be back on the show and see everybody again. It's been a few months, and it's crazy that summer's over and we can wear sweaters already. I mean, I guess it's going to get warm, but this year's going by so quickly, and soon we're going to have hockey and basketball back, and just time's flying. But it's good to be back and talk all these sports again and be back on the show another season.
Yeah, I'm so
It's
happy.
all going.
Tim.
Yeah,
Yeah, man, it's been great.
it's been great. We'll definitely have Tim back
Do it
on
again soon.
throughout the season to talk about the Ravens and the Orioles and throughout the fall as well. And so I appreciate Tim. Tim was, if people don't know, is one of my groomsmen, so he's been a friend of mine since high school. And so I
Oh
appreciate
yeah.
the long friendship and talking Orioles. And I look forward to the Capitals coming back in October. So we'll have a lot to break down with that. And then the return of Wizards talk also in October. So we'll definitely talk about those as well. But Tim, thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good one. Bye.
All right. So
Hopefully the Wizards don't suck this year.
yeah, hopefully they won't suck this year, but I don't have a lot of faith in them so far from what I've seen with our offseason moves. And so I know that Liz wanted to talk a little bit about the Paralympics. And so she's sending me a couple links of different things that we could talk about.
Better cook.
Yeah, exactly. So let me see if I can pull some of these links up on a second screen. Just give me 1 second. But all right, here we go. Um, we got this one and wins 3 gold medals. Do you want to come out and talk about it? Actually have her live on
Come on, Liz. Come on.
there you go. She hasn't come on in a long time.
Come on.
I was gonna say she could talk in chat, but I feel like that seems so. There we go. We can have her live on air. But I want to thank Tina for
There she
finishing
is.
level 1 of the hype train for us. So thank you so much, Tina. I very much appreciate that. And so I'm just going to pull up chat over here and the Zoom so that way she can see you over here, champ. And yeah, so Tim, you were telling, or Liz, you were telling me about some of the different
Yeah,
ones.
so I was I put together some information just about the Paralympics in general. So there's actually over 4,000 athletes that compete for just over 500 medals across 22 sports, and it's about 12 days. So it's a like really big involved competition, and there were a few stories that were really cool. So Tara Davis Woodall actually competed in the women's long jump about a month ago and won the gold. She got 6th in Tokyo 4 years ago, and then or 3 years ago, and then won the gold this year. Her husband is actually Paralympian, Hunter Woodall, and he was competing in the men's 400 meter, and he also won the gold medal. And so they had this amazing like celebration afterwards, because like for 3 weeks, like he had all this like pent up, like he was really excited for her, but he in one of the interviews he was talking about how humble she was and how she just kept like really encouraging him and pushing him and building that confidence in him that he was going to do it. And then they were like the gold medal couple. She's like 25 too. It's wild. And then another really interesting individual is a Brazilian swimmer, Gabriel Aruo. I think I'm saying that right, Aruo. But he was in 3 individual events in Tokyo and took gold, silver, and really wanted the hat trick this time around. And the 3 individual events he was in, he gold medaled in, and he has no arms and legs that don't really function to, in the way that so it's literally just his core. And he beat the next time by like 7 seconds. He was just, they call him Rocket Man. He's just like, you can't touch him. And
you guys got to go back and watch some of these videos. I mean,
they're wild.
Yeah.
He's incredibly talented. Another swimmer I found super impressive was a gentleman. He's actually a Chinese swimmer. He won 6 medals, 4 gold and 2 silver. And his name is Zhao Jin Chen. But Zhao has this amazing style. He like glides under the water. So he wears no cap, no goggles, no like fancy suit. He's just got like the bare minimum suit on. And the way that he glides under the water, he doesn't even come up for air. And he hit the men's 50 butterfly time in like under 30 seconds. It was crazy. Actually, I just wanted you to see a little bit, babe, of this. I don't have to, I just want to show. So just watch.
Hold on.
Let me turn it
Here, send it to me. I'm gonna.
It's on Facebook.
Okay, hold on. I'm gonna show it on screen so that people can see it.
Okay.
While Robbie does that, I have to make a comment about the Paralympics. It's so awe-inspiring to see these individuals who have these limitations in regular life being able to go out here and do these events.
Incredible things.
I have full use of all of my extremities, and I can't even do a 10th of what these individuals can do. Okay, it's incredible. It's incredible to see. I'll say this. I watched the opening ceremonies of the Paralympics and I was inspired. I was just like, these individuals out here doing all of this, and they're getting ready to do these incredible events, and they don't have the same capabilities of a person like myself or Robbie or Liz or anybody else. They don't have the same capabilities that we have, but they can still go out there and perform in these events. It's incredible. And I watched some of the events I did because I didn't watch all of them because I was already Olympic out from the regular Olympics and following wrestling and stuff like that. But I did watch some of the events because they were on the USA Network, and I was just so amazed just watching it. I was just like, I cannot believe that there's a person here that has 1 leg and can run as fast as someone with 2. It's incredible.
That's crazy. What Liz was pointing out here is he doesn't even break the surface, and
he literally just glides underneath it. It's incredible.
And he just goes so fast, and he doesn't have anything to stop.
I don't see him stop for air once.
Yeah, that's amazing.
It's a sub 30 time.
Yeah, so
he sets a new world record.
That's so crazy that he never breaks the surface of the water, just stays right at that surface, and he goes all the way, and he hits his head at the end, doesn't have anything to brace.
This is a different one. That's a different one.
Oh.
That was this is butterfly. That was in the freestyle.
Okay.
Same guy.
But same guy that hits his head, but this guy.
When he swam in the finals for the men's 50 freestyle, he did not slow down. He just went right into the wall, and his head is what
hit the wall.
And it was like, Robbie's like, oh God.
Yeah.
But you have to assume that he practices that way, so he's probably just very used to it.
But how can you get used to just hitting your head on the wall? I don't know. Like, I don't know how that works, but it's commitment for sure. So
and there's one other individual I just wanted to I found really inspiring. So his name is what did it just say Sutzman? Matt Sutzman. He goes by the Armless Archer. He's a 41-year-old athlete who he was born without arms, and he's actually been an archer for quite some time. He is a big avid hunter, and so he's used archery for that, and he has pivoted into this Olympic career, and he won the gold this year. And it was a really several of the matches went down to a shootout and were really like tense, and he had some really perfect shots, and it was just amazing to see because the other archers he's competing, it's all different levels of ability. So like some people are Paralympic competitors that have arms, but are, but it's so interesting. And he, like, when he first wanted to start archery, he talked about, like, he searched, like, how do you teach someone to use a bow and arrow without arms? And there were no search results. So he literally had to teach himself everything. He designed all the equipment he uses, and he just won the gold. So I just thought that was really cool. He was the one of the U.S. athletes for the Paralympics.
That's awesome.
And he's from Texas,
Oh, cool.
I think. Maybe that was, I know Tara.
Yeah, Tino's saying, I guess you'd have to hit the wall if you are doing that type of stroke and going full out. Yeah, I mean, I
especially
guess
if you don't have
anything
you
to,
don't have any
but do some of them
limbs to
turn or
brace yourself.
something to brace
And
themselves?
the other thing that's interesting about not just swimming, but all the Paralympic sports, they have different categories. So you can compete in, like, so it's called like S2 or S3, and it just depends on, like, your mobility and what you have, like, the different parts of your body that you have control over. And you can qualify in different levels. So one individual might compete in S2 and S3, or like in an S3 relay with other individuals. So I found that really interesting as well.
Yeah, super cool. Well, thank you I know we covered the Olympics, and I figured Liz was saying, well, you guys should cover this too. And I said, well, if you got some cool stories, bring them on. So I'm happy that we're able to do this. It's the first time I've ever covered the Paralympics, but something that hopefully we'll continue to do going forward.
When this year was the most, like, I mean, obviously with streaming, there's a lot more access to this, but I think there was like over 100,000 hours of the Paralympics that were.
And if people have
watched,
Peacock, which I know
amazing.
a lot of people who are into wrestling have Peacock these days, or you can catch all the old stuff because they keep all of it up there. And as you said, it's the most documented Olympics and Paralympics. So if you missed anything over this summer, you can go back and watch any of them. So it's never too late. So they're there for everybody, which I think is really cool that the companies are putting it out there.
Well, I guess 4 years till we get another summer, but 2 years till we get another Olympics.
Yeah.
Not even 2 years because it's January.
Yeah, because Winter Olympics,
26th.
this one's always the shorter one. It's the other
It's
one that's always the longer one.
break,
Yeah.
From winter to summer.
Yeah, for sure. Sounds good. Well, thank you. Appreciate
Great
it.
job, Liz. Great
Yeah,
job.
yeah. I think that might be your first actual sports segment ever on this show in 9 years.
Absolutely.
There you go.
Probably
There you go.
There's gonna be an outcry for Liz to return. It's gonna be Liz
Exactly.
chance.
Every 2 years for the Olympic, Paralympic coverage. There we go. Very cool. All right, let's give a little DC United update. Champ, we can talk about them a little bit. Yeah.
Well, see, so the DC United has been pretty up and down this season, but right now they have 5 games remaining in their season, and they currently sit eligible for the elimination game. They sit 9th in the Eastern Conference table, right, and they play NYC coming up as their next game. They lost to NYC earlier in the season 2-0 on April the 20th, 420. Hi. But they're currently on a 2-match winning streak. So if they can continue this momentum, they could potentially either get to the 8th seed and stay into that elimination, or they could potentially jump into the 7th seed and guarantee themselves a spot in the Eastern Conference playoffs for the MLS Cup. But they need to keep the momentum going here and things like that. But they cannot afford to slip and fall backwards because they're in the position where they have a chance to at least play themselves into the playoffs. But they can't afford to. They also as well, in this upcoming stretch, they have a friendly coming up against I believe it's against Nigeria. They have a friendly coming up because the firm that I work for actually sponsors DC United, and they're doing a family day for that particular event. It's in October, but it's going to be right in the midst of them trying to make that final push to make it's Ghana. I'm sorry, the Ghana Premier League. They're part of the Ghana Premier League, but it's going to be right in the midst of their playoff push and things like that. So it's going to be very interesting to see how they're able to play that out and things like that. But it has to start this coming weekend when they play against NYC here in Audi Field. Again, they lost to them at City Field back in April. So they're going to have to try to get that back in order to keep their their hopes of even at least having a chance to get into the playoffs alive. And so they need to just win. So they need to focus on the game coming up, and then they have another game the following week, and things like that. So DC United is still in the hunt. They're in the hunt. They have a chance. They just need to just go out and win. They've already won 2 matches in a row. They need to continue to win and continue to build that momentum, and they can make the playoffs, or at least have a chance to play in the elimination match to get into the playoffs as the 8th seed.
Yeah, for sure. All right, we're gonna do a quick WNBA update. We don't have to spend a lot of time on this because they have I mean they did win their last game against the Lynx, which was actually a really good team. And they've been trending up. They've been playing a lot better. They're playing the Sky, which is a team that's I believe right in front of them in the standings. So both the DC United and the Mystics can play their way in over the last couple of weeks, but they've got to go on big tears. Both of them got to basically win out to have a shot at this. I know that they have I think they've got 5 games left, and if
Yes.
and I'm just trying to double check here how many games back they are.
Well,
They
right now, they're one of 3 teams that are fighting for the final playoff spot in the WNBA, because the WNBA playoff format is that the top 8 teams, regardless of conference, make the playoffs. Now, they currently sit 10th
Oh,
in
so
the
it is top 8.
yeah,
So
it's top 8, and they're currently 10th in the WNBA, but ahead of them are the Sky and the Dream, who they play in these 3 in the final 5 games they play. They play the Sky next, and they play a home and home against the Dream after that. So if they're able to go 3-0 in that stretch, they could put themselves in a position to get the 8th and final spot to play the Liberty in that first round of the playoffs. But then they do play the Liberty, who are the number 1 in the WNBA, as well as the Fever. So they have a chance to really not only make the playoffs as the 8th seed, but also maybe get some momentum against the Liberty by beating them in the regular season before facing them in a 3-game series in the playoffs, which the first round in the WNBA playoffs, it's a 2-1 format, meaning the top seeds get 2 home games, but if it goes to a third and deciding game, then the lower seed gets that home game for that deciding game. So it would behoove the Mystics to not only beat Angel Reese in the Sky on the road coming up, but then win that home and home against the Dream to get that 8th seed, and then beat the Liberty to get that momentum going into that 3-game series.
right. So we got to hope that New York wins the next 2 against Dallas, knocks them out of the playoffs, that makes them kind of clinch that number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference, or one of the top 2 seeds, which is kind of important overall, right? And then they won't need to beat us, so they might rest some players. I wouldn't be surprised, or not play them for as many minutes. So if we could start off well in that game, maybe we could take it to them and they take off the rest of the game, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Especially if we play physical, I'm sure they don't want anything to do with that, right? So,
Well, one thing about the Mystics is that they have momentum going into this final stretch of the season. They've won 3 of their last 5 games, so they have the push, they have the drive. So all they gotta do is ride that momentum. All the focus for the Wizards and Thibodeau is they need to beat the Sky, and they need to win. They need to sweep that home and home series against the Dream, because those are the 2 teams ahead of them for that 8th spot. So that's the goal. Forget about the Liberty, forget about the Fever, which are the final 2 games of the season. The focus is beat Angel Reese in the Sky, and then win the home and home against the Fever, and you get yourself a chance to make the playoffs. That's the focus. That's it. Nothing else.
San Francisco makes a 42-yard attempt to make it 32-13 at the 4:20 mark of the 4th quarter. So,
Hi.
so, so that's great. And then the San Francisco yeah, so that's I think that's all we've got. I wanted to go back to some wrestling talk for just a couple of moments, but then we're gonna try to get out of here by 11, which on time. Everything's gone really well tonight, so I really appreciate Liz Bean for our extra guest. I thought we would only have 3 guests tonight, but we actually had 4. And I appreciate giving her perspective. That was really cool with the Olympics and getting Tim's thoughts and obviously Dujanay's thoughts on all things to do with football and a little bit of baseball talk as well. But let's get into it with the wrestling talk. What are your thoughts about SmackDown going to changing networks? It's a big story this week, and that cage match that's coming up. What do you think is going to happen? Do you think Dujanay is right with his belief that The Rock might be involved, or how do you think this is all going to play out?
The Rock being involved in the Bloodline storyline is a very viable theory, and it would make a lot of sense for it to be him that was pulling the strings of Solo taking the reins. Like I said, when I was on with DJ on his podcast, Not Bland Show, he asked me about the fact of Jey Uso possibly rejoining Roman along with his brother Jimmy to try to go after the current bloodline. And I said, I don't know if that's a good idea now because of the fact that Jay is doing so well as a single star on Raw. I'm actually watching right now. He's in the midst of a fatal 4-way for the Intercontinental Championship. It's still going on. I'm not going to say who wins or who loses because I know you're going to watch it tomorrow. I'm going to do the same. But I think that he's doing so well in a singles role that I think you don't want to stifle that momentum now by throwing him into the mix of this. But I think that eventually he will gravitate back towards that situation along with his brother. They may throw Sammy in there, the original bloodline against the new bloodline. It'll be 4-on-4. And then, of course, the wise man got to be involved in this because he's Roman's wise man. He's not Solo's wise man. So I think that will eventually happen, that the Usos and Sammy might be put back into this situation, but not anytime soon, especially with Sammy. Sammy's now currently chasing for the World Heavyweight Championship. He cut a promo on Walter, aka Gunter, last week. And so he's going after the World Championship. Jimmy's just out right now. I guess he's dealing with injury, but he hasn't been brought back in the fold for a while. So I think that once they do what they got to do with their storylines and stuff like that, I think then you bring them into this storyline with the bloodline backing up Roman and things like that. But the problem with it is that you take 2 superstars from Raw onto SmackDown. So now Raw is 2 superstars short. So that's going to be an interesting situation for Triple H and crew to have to navigate if they want that storyline to actually happen.
And the draft only happens after WrestleMania. They couldn't like redraft or trade players or how does
Exactly.
that? Yeah, so that's gonna be interesting for sure to see. But there are some I don't know, because I almost wonder if you can't do it that way either. Because I was gonna say that Roman Reigns is the free agent, right? So
no, he's exclusive to SmackDown.
Okay. Got it.
And they need that, especially with SmackDown moving back to the USA Network starting this week. So they're hyping up this week as WWE week because all 3 brands under the WWE window, Raw, NXT, and SmackDown, are going to be on the USA Network for not only this week, but for the next 3 weeks before NXT moves over to the CW network on October the 1st. And then again in January, Raw is going to be moving over to Netflix, which there's a lot of speculation and talk that they're going to get a little bit more edgier and they're going to get a little bit more have a little bit more to what they do in terms of the violence and the promos and the language, because they're going to be on Netflix as opposed to being on not even network TV, but cable TV and stuff like that.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if while they're all 3 on USA, if a lot of the superstars are swapping between all of them, because now it's not like they're jumping between networks, So I wonder if that's part of the storyline here is that, if we don't see more of this, moving around at least temporarily until things maybe settle as you get into the new TV deals.
Right. Yeah, I mean that is a possibility. I mean, Randy Orton jumped over from SmackDown to Raw to have a short-term feud with Walter for the World Heavyweight Championship, which culminated at Bash in Berlin, where they had a really great main event match for that championship, in which Walter was able to retain the championship. But it was a really great match. It was the longest match of the night, over 30 minutes of action between the two of them, and it was really well done, really great matchup. So I would not be surprised if, with these three brands being on the same network before one of them moves on to somewhat, if you want to call it network TV with the CW, that's I think still considered cable TV. That you won't see any kind of overlap between the rosters and things
I
like
actually
that.
think CW might be network TV because it's broadcast. Because it took the old WB20 spot, on the
Right.
TVs. So, um, yeah, well, that's awesome. If people want more wrestling stuff, there's a ton that Champ talks about on the other promotions as well. He has a great show over on the No Spots podcast. You can go check him out over there. The podcast partners button, SportsOTHP, and click that. He's got all of his stuff up on the VODs on his Twitch channel as well, so you can go back and check out some old ones. And some of his live reacts have been on the simul streamed, right? On both on the Facebook page as well.
Absolutely. We normally try to do the live reactions on both Facebook and on Twitch as well. If anybody's watching currently on the live stream, I'm wearing my New Japan shirt. My This is usually what Young Lions wears, the red and white Lion March shirt. Because New Japan is currently in the midst of their Road to Destruction tour, where they have a lot of title matches that are taking place on the card. They've already had they had the New Japan World TV Championship match as the main event on Sunday. Then on Monday they had the Never Openweight Championship match on them as the main event, where for the 11th time in the history of the Never Openweight Championship, a junior heavyweight challenged a heavyweight for that championship. It was a hell of a contest. I can't wait to talk about that this coming weekend as well. And then in a couple in on Wednesday, when they're back in action, they'll be in Sendai. The main event is going to be for the junior heavyweight championship. Doki's first defense of that championship against Taiji Ishimori, a man who he has never beaten in 4 previous matches. This is going to be the 5th between them, and now the title's on the line. So Doki's trying to prove he is a good enough junior heavyweight to beat the top 3 junior heavyweights in New Japan Pro Wrestling. He already beat Hiromu Takahashi. He beat El Desperado to win the junior title, and now he wants to beat Taiji Ishimori to retain that championship. So that's going to be a really good one. Also, upcoming, there are really no PLEs to talk about except for Bad Blood coming up pretty soon in about a month's time. All Out just happened for AEW, which main evented with what's called a lights out steel cage match. For people who are not wrestling fans who don't know what lights out means, lights out means it's an unsanctioned match, meaning anything goes, because the promotion waives all rights and whole harmless agreements with when it comes to the wrestlers, meaning whatever happens to them in the matches is held on them. It's not held with the company and things of that nature. And I'm gonna tell you something. That match was one of the most violent steel cage matches I've seen in my entire. And I've been watching wrestling since 1992, and this is one of the more violent steel cage matches that I've ever got to witness, and it was absolutely crazy. So this coming weekend, we'll be talking about All Out and everything that happened with the fallout from All Out, as well as what happened tonight on Raw. Again, a new #1 contender for the IC Championship has been identified. I'm not going to say who, as well as the Wyatt Six taking on American Made in a street fight, which was a Calgary street fight, which was absolutely awesome. And as well as anything else that happens this week in wrestling. So make sure you check this out. Check us out, No Spots Podcast on Twitch, twitch.tv/True No Spots Pod. If you cannot check out the live stream for our podcast, the audio goes up on Spotify and Amazon Music the very next day.
Amazing. All right, with that, I think that we're going to end our podcast. Back in the day, we used to keep them separate, right? So, but now I got to rate out as part of the actual podcast. But thank you everyone for tuning in. Whether you tuned in on Twitch, we had the hype train, got through level 1 thanks to Tina, and I'll talk to her offline about making an emote for her. I usually have the highest bit giver gets a special emote because for the 1000K emote or whatever it is, 1000 bit emote. And so I'll talk to her offline about what one we'll have for the next month for that. So I appreciate that. And we're gonna go right over to our friend Kevin's Cafe live. And I'll do the sub raid and the raid call. If anyone is in chat that wants to go over there. Thank you, Champ, so much for co-hosting this with me. Again, stay tuned to the channel. We might have some new merch coming this fall. Carol will be going to a lot of the live football games, so we might get his reactions every once in a while. He's busy doing a lot of stuff behind the scenes. Dugenet, great coverage from football, and talks of maybe getting Hurt back on this fall at some point. Maybe even the Sith Lord might make a return after 5 years. It's funny how you've joined at almost the same time that Dan hasn't been on this show, and so it'd be pretty incredible to get you both on the same show, which I don't know if has happened since COVID. I don't think he's ever come on the video.
We have never been on this show together ever.
Yeah, that's wild to me.
We were on Dugenet's show one time together, but we've
Yeah.
never been on this show together.
Yeah, well, we'll have to make that happen, especially before we get the end of the fall. We're going to switch over in October when we have hockey first again. So while we have football first, we'll definitely get him on. Definitely try to get Hurt on. Maybe get the other friends on as well. So Rune return as well. So with that, before the raid timer lets us go, thank you everyone for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Catch us next week for episode 347, and hopefully we'll get a big Commanders victory. Have a good one.
Sayonara.